My hand shook as I held the house key, standing at the front door. 3 days in the hospital dragged like years, and all I craved was my bed, wrapped in the cozy smell of home. The afternoon sun stretched shadows across the porch. A dog barked somewhere far off. I turned the key carefully, not wanting to disturb anyone inside. The door creaked as I stepped in, my hospital bag brushing against my leg. The house felt alive, warmer than when I left. Soft voices floated from upstairs, intimate and quiet, followed by a burst of laughter. My heart raced, but not with relief. Each step up the wooden stairs groaned under me, like a ticking clock. At the landing, I stopped. The bedroom door was cracked open, shadows flickering inside. I pushed it wider. What I saw burned into my memory, sparking a fire for revenge I never knew I could plan. Hey, drop a comment with the country you're watching from. We love hearing from our global crew. If this is your first time here, hit subscribe. Your support fuels more epic revenge stories. Keep listening. 3 weeks back, the accident hit me hard and fast. I was driving home from book club, daydreaming about Thai takeout. Next thing I knew, I woke up in a hospital bed, tubes in my arms, a pounding headache making me queasy. "Mrs. Griffin," the doctor said, pulling up a chair, "you're lucky. The drunk driver walked away fine, but you've got a bad concussion and some bruising inside. We'll keep you here for 3 or 4 days to be safe." For days away from home felt like forever. I hadn't been gone that long since my wedding 5 years ago. My husband, Dallas, was there when I woke, holding my hand, whispering how scared he'd been. "Sofia, I can't lose you," he said, his green eyes shiny with tears. "You're my everything." I squeezed his hand, warmth spreading through me. After 5 years, despite our little fights over dishes or trash duty, his love felt real. Dallas visited daily, bringing flowers, magazines, and work updates. He was a financial advisor, loved by his clients for his easy charm. "How's Megan?" I asked on day 2, thinking of his sweet elderly client like a grandma to us. "She's good, asking about you," he said. "Wants to bake you her famous cookies when you're home." I asked about the Grant's retirement worries. His smile faltered for a second. "They're fine, Sofia. Just focus on healing." On day 3, my sister Cynthia visited. She drove 2 hours as soon as she heard about the crash. We're opposites. She's bold and loves nightlife. I'm quiet, a bookworm. But we're tight. "You look awful," she said, plopping into the chair with no filter. "Thanks, just what I needed to hear," I shot back. She grinned, pulling chocolates from her huge purse. Fancy ones from downtown. Hospital foods, gotta be grim. We chatted for hours, laughing about her latest dating flop, a guy in a world's okayest lover shirt. I shared neighborhood gossip. "Mrs. Jenkins thinks someone's stealing her trash for identity theft," I said, popping a chocolate. "Maybe she tosses out treasures," Cynthia said, "like that old jewelry box we found in Mrs. Peterson's garbage as kids." I laughed, then winced as pain shot through my ribs. Cynthia's face turned serious. "You okay? Need a nurse?" "I'm fine, just sore. Doctor says I might go home tomorrow if my scan's clear." "Awesome. Dallas must be thrilled." Her tone made me pause. "What's that mean?" "Nothing. Just, guys like him probably live on cereal without you." She was right. Dallas wasn't exactly a chef. I always teased he'd starve without me. That night, after Cynthia left, I called him to say I might be home early. His phone rang 4 times, then voicemail. "Hi, you've reached Dallas Griffin. Leave a message and I'll call back soon." I left one, then tried again later. No answer. He often forgot to charge his phone, but something felt off. Maybe it was the meds making me jumpy. Or maybe it was how distracted he seemed that morning. Next morning, Dr. Patel brought good news. "Your scans look great, Mrs. Griffin. You're free to go, but take it easy. No driving, no heavy lifting." Call us if you feel dizzy or sick. I thanked her, packed my stuff, and couldn't wait to sleep in my own bed. The taxi ride home wound through familiar streets, oak trees, and tidy lawns. Our neighborhood was friendly, the kind where people still waved. Dallas, and I bought our house 3 years ago, a cozy two-story with blue shutters and a garden I loved tending. Dallas's car wasn't in the driveway, probably at work, which was fine. I wanted a quiet hour alone. I paid the driver and climbed the front steps, my ribs aching with each move. The key felt heavy as I unlocked the door. Inside, something was wrong. The air smelled of vanilla candles, not my usual lavender or eucalyptus. A floral, pricey perfume lingered when I didn't know. I dropped my bag in the entryway and listened. The house wasn't quiet. Muffled voices came from upstairs, followed by a woman's soft, musical laugh and Dallas's low chuckle. I thought maybe Cynthia had come to surprise me, but her laugh was loud, not like this delicate one. I crept up the stairs, each step hurting my ribs. The voices came from our bedroom. As I got closer, I heard her say we should get dressed soon. She might call. Relax, Dallas said, his voice warm and smug. She's not out till tomorrow. We've got all night. I froze, my breath caught in my chest. The bedroom door stood slightly open. Through the gap, I saw our bed, the one Dallas and I chose together, where we shared our wedding night, where I sobbed into his shoulder when my dad passed last year. There was Dallas, his back to me with a woman beneath him. Her auburn hair spilled across the pillow, her skin pale and perfect, like she belonged in a glossy magazine, not our quiet suburban home. Their movements matched a rhythm I knew too well, one that was mine and Dallas's. Her soft moans sliced through me like shards of glass. I stood rooted in the doorway, watching my marriage fall apart. Her hands ran through his hair, just like I always did, whispering words I couldn't hear but felt in how he moved with her. This wasn't a one-time slip or a drunken error. It was deep, familiar, the kind of closeness that comes from months of knowing each other's bodies. How long had they been doing this? She tilted her head, and for a heart-stopping second, I thought she'd spot me. But her eyes stayed shut, lost in the moment, and Dallas was too wrapped up in her to notice me. I backed away, legs trembling, my heart pounding so loud I swore they'd hear it. I reached the stairs before my knees buckled, clutching the banister to stay upright. Everything I believed about my life, my marriage, Dallas, it all shattered. The man who held my hand in the hospital, who swore he couldn't live without me, was upstairs with another woman in our bed. I had to get out, escape before they came downstairs, before I faced the truth head-on. But where could I go? My car was still in the shop from the accident. I couldn't just call a taxi and say I was running from my cheating husband. I was stuck. I could have stormed back up, confronted them, screamed, cried, let my pain and fury explode. But I didn't. Instead, I tiptoed downstairs and slipped out the front door, shutting it without a sound. I walked to the curb and sat, my body shaking. The afternoon sun warmed my face, and the neighborhood was calm. Mrs. Jenkins watered her flowers across the street. A lawnmower hummed nearby. It was such a normal day, yet my world had just collapsed. I sat there for 20 minutes, trying to make sense of it all. My marriage was done, that was obvious. Questions swirled in my head, too fast to grab. Who was she? How did they meet? How long had this been happening? Did he love her? Was he leaving me for her? The worst question hit like a blade. What was wrong with me that wasn't wrong with her? 10 minutes later, she stepped out, kissed Dallas goodbye on the porch, and drove off. He stood there, watching her go, a smug smile on his face, a happiness I hadn't seen in months. I waited until he went inside, then stood, brushing off my jeans. My legs wobbled, my ribs ached from the hard curb, but a strange calm settled over me. The shock was fading, replaced by something sharp and cold, far more dangerous than the hurt. I walked back to the house and let myself in. Dallas, I called, keeping my voice bright, I'm home. He appeared at the top of the stairs, a flash of panic in his eyes before he forced a smile. "Sophia, you're back early. I thought you'd be in the hospital till tomorrow. Doctor let me out today. Surprise." I smiled back, though it felt like my face might break. He came down and hugged me. I bit my tongue to keep from screaming. He reeked of her perfume and their betrayal. His forehead kiss tasted like lies. "How are you feeling?" he asked, his concern so fake I could choke on it. "Tired, but happy to be home. It's empty without you." He didn't catch the edge in my words. "I'll grab us dinner," he said. "Thai from your favorite place." "Sounds great." I watched him move around the kitchen, flipping through takeout menus, chatting about his day at work. His lies flowed so easily it stunned me. He talked about a client meeting that probably never happened, how he missed me, how glad I was back. It was all a show, and he was a master at it. We ate at the dining table, trading small talk about my recovery and his job. He asked about Cynthia's visit, so I mentioned the chocolates and Mrs. Jenkins' trash drama. "She's paranoid," he laughed. "Remember when she thought the mailman was reading her magazines?" Maybe he was. Maybe everyone here's hiding secrets. His face twitched, but he covered it fast. "Oh, I got you something," he said. "A welcome home gift." He fetched a small box from the kitchen. Inside was a silver bracelet with my birthstone. "Dallas, it's gorgeous." "You didn't have to." "I wanted to. That accident scared me, Sophia. It showed me how much you mean to me." The bracelet was beautiful, but I wondered if he bought it before or after her. Was it love or guilt? "Put it on me?" I held out my wrist. His fingers were gentle, and for a second, I almost forgot what I'd seen. This was the Dallas I loved, the one who brought me flowers for no reason, who knew my coffee order. But that Dallas was a lie, maybe always had been. That night, we went to bed together, the first time since the accident. He was careful, sweet, avoiding my injuries. Without what I knew, it might have felt romantic. But every kiss, every touch, every soft word stung like a betrayal. As he slept, his arm across me, I stared at the ceiling, planning my next move. I could confront him, demand answers, threaten divorce, force him to choose. But that wouldn't cut it. His lies were too smooth, his act too perfect. I couldn't trust a word he'd say. If I was ending this marriage, it'd be on my terms. I'd uncover every detail of his affair and ruin him in a way he'd never forget. The next morning, Dallas left for work, kissing me goodbye, telling me to call if I needed him. I waited until his car vanished, then made coffee. I wanted to tear the house apart for proof of the affair, but I knew better. Dallas was too clever to leave obvious clues. Instead, I sat at the kitchen table with a notepad listing what I knew. She was young, mid-20s, auburn hair, expensive taste. She had a key to our house, not a fling, but something serious. She drove a red sedan, license plate unknown. They were together while I was in the hospital, planning a whole night together. This wasn't just physical, it was deep, emotional, real. I had to find out who she was, but hiring a private investigator risked Dallas catching on. I needed to be clever, move carefully, and gather clues bit by bit. My first stop was his home office, a small room off the living room for his client files. I'd always respected his space and rarely went in, but desperate times called for bold moves. His laptop was locked, but I knew Dallas's predictable passwords. Always his birthday, our anniversary, or a dog's name. After 3 tries, I cracked it. Sofia 0515, our wedding date. The irony hit me hard. His main email looked clean, but his browser history told a different story. He'd been browsing real estate sites, eyeing downtown apartments and condos. Was he planning to leave me or set her up? Digging deeper, I found something worse. Searches about divorce laws, asset division, and how adultery affects alimony in our state. My hands trembled as I scrolled through legal websites. Dallas wasn't just cheating. He was plotting to ditch me, covering his financial tracks. I printed key pages, hid them in my book, and erased the printer and browser history. If he was spying on me through his research, I'd spy right back. But I needed more than web history. I needed her name and how they met. That afternoon, I called his office. Griffin Financial Services, Melissa speaking. How can I help? Melissa, his kind secretary of 15 years. Always warm to me at office events. Hi, Melissa, it's Sofia. Is Dallas free? Sofia, so good to hear you. How are you feeling after the accident? We've been worried. Much better, thanks. I want to surprise Dallas with lunch, but I forgot his schedule. Any meetings this afternoon? Let me check. He's got a 2 o'clock with the Johnsons, but he's free by 3:30 if you want to stop by. Great. Was he swamped while I was in the hospital? You know he's a mess without me organizing his life. Melissa chuckled. Oh, Dallas was his charming self, but a bit distracted. A new client came in last week, a young woman starting a business. She's been in a few times. My heart raced. Oh, that's nice. Young folks planning ahead. Yep. She's lovely, very professional. Victoria, Blake, I think, owns that new boutique on 5th Street. Victoria Blake. I had her name. Thanks, Melissa. I'll see you later. Take care, honey. I hung up and searched Victoria Blake online. Her boutique, Blake's, had a sleek website with photos of fancy clothes and handbags. The About Us page showed her, the woman from my bedroom, smiling brightly outside her store. She was 26, a state university grad with a business degree, and opened her shop 6 months ago when Dallas started staying late. I spent an hour digging into Victoria Blake. Her business license was public, and I found her address on the property tax site, a ritzy downtown apartment with doorman and valet. How could a new boutique owner afford that? Small shops struggle early on unless someone's bankrolling them. The more I learned, the angrier I got. She wasn't just sleeping with Dallas. She was using his skills as contacts, maybe his money to fund her lavish life. He wasn't just betraying me. She was playing him for her own gain. But anger, I realized, could fuel something powerful if I used it right. That afternoon, I parked across from Blake's boutique. Through the big windows, I saw Victoria arranging clothes, charming customers. She was even prettier in person, moving with confidence. Every customer fell for her charm. I watched for an hour, noting her gestures, her ease with people. She was clever, manipulative, and natural at it. At 5, she locked up and headed to a nearby parking garage. Her red sedan pulled out, and I followed her through downtown. She didn't go to her fancy apartment. Instead, she stopped at a cozy coffee shop where students studied. There, she met an older man in a pricey suit, maybe in his 50s. Their talk at a corner table looked serious, businesslike. Was Dallas one of many men funding her? I snapped clear photos of them both. I didn't know him yet, but he felt like a key piece of this puzzle. That evening, Dallas came home to find dinner ready. Smells amazing, he said, loosening his tie. What's the occasion? Do I need one to cook for you? He grinned and sat down. How was your day? Resting, like the doctor said. Mostly. I drove to the bookstore, though. I know, no driving, but I was going nuts. Sofia, you gotta be careful. What if you got dizzy? His concern seemed real, and for a second, I almost felt bad for lying. Then I pictured her hands in his hair, and the guilt vanished. You're right. I'll be careful. How was your day? Melissa mentioned a new client. His face flickered, barely noticeable. Yeah, a few new clients. Business is picking up. Anyone interesting? Nah, just the usual. Retirement plans, investments. Nothing exciting. His lies were so smooth, I almost admired him. Without knowing about Victoria, I'd have believed every word. I was thinking, I said slowly, maybe we should plan our future. 5 years married, and we haven't talked big goals. Like what? Maybe kids, a bigger house. Normal couple stuff. His fork stopped midair. Kids? We said we'd wait till we're more stable, but your business is doing great now. Sofia, now's not the time for big decisions. You just got out of the hospital. Focus on recovery. But when's the right time? We're not getting younger. He took my hand across the table. Let's talk in a few weeks when you're back to normal. Translation: after I figure out how to leave you without losing everything. I squeezed his hand, smiling. You're probably right. But inside, I was already plotting my next step. For the next week, I had a routine. Dallas left for work. I started investigating. I trailed Victoria to her boutique, lunch meetings, her upscale apartment building. I learned her patterns, her habits, her flaws. But the more I saw, the more questions I had. Her lifestyle: $3,000 rent, leased car, daily designer outfits, twice weekly salon visits, was way beyond a new boutique owner's means, even with Dallas's help. Either he was giving her more money than he should have, or someone else was funding her. The truth hit me Thursday afternoon while tailing Victoria to the city's fanciest restaurant. She met the same older man from the coffee shop, but this time it felt personal. I snagged a table across the room, unnoticed, watching them hold hands. He kissed her when she stepped away to the restroom. This wasn't business, it was a date. Victoria wasn't just betraying Dallas with me. She was playing both him and this man. I snapped photos and caught enough of their talk to hear his name. Richard something. He grumbled about his wife's spending and her suspicions about his business trips. I followed him to the parking lot, noted his license plate, and after some clever online digging, identified him as Richard Hawthorne, a wealthy car dealership owner. Richard was married, loaded, and bankrolling Victoria's lavish life while she juggled affairs with him and Dallas. Her web of lies was messier than I'd thought, and I wasn't sure how to use this yet, but it felt like a game changer. That night, I made a bold call. I dialed my sister Cynthia. Sofia, you okay? I've been worried since I left. I need a huge favor, I said, my voice steady. Anything. What's up? I took a deep breath. Help me catch Dallas cheating. The line went quiet, so long I thought she'd hung up. Sofia, what's going on? I spilled it all, coming home early, seeing them in our bedroom, Victoria and Richard, Dallas's lies. Oh, Sofia, Cynthia said when I finished. I'm so sorry. What's the plan? I want to ruin him. I get it, but how? Want me to help confront him? No. I need solid proof, so when I divorce him, he can't lie his way out. I want him to lose everything. Cynthia paused. That's intense. You sure you're thinking straight? You just got out of the hospital. I've never been clearer. Dallas lied about our marriage, our future, probably our money. I need to know everything. What do you need from me? Help me get into his office after hours. His work computer might have financial records or emails he thinks are hidden. Sofia, that's breaking and entering. It's my husband's office. I deserve to know if he's stealing to fund her boutique. Another pause. When? This weekend. He's at a conference in the capital, or so he says. Probably a lie to spend time with Victoria. He'll be gone 2 days. I'll come Friday night. I love you, Sofia. We'll handle this. Hanging up. I felt calmer than I had since seeing them. A plan and an ally made it all seem doable. Friday evening. Dallas packed a suitcase and kissed me goodbye. I'll call from the hotel, he said. Take care. Have a good conference. I love you, Dallas. His words sounded so real I almost bought it. Then I remembered Victoria's hands on him, and the lie crumbled. I love you too. 2 hours later, Cynthia arrived with wine and a serious look. This is crazy, she said, hugging me. But I'm in. We planned over wine. Dallas's office had basic security, key card access, and a guard who patrolled every few hours. Other businesses, like an accounting firm and a law office, stayed open late. I had Dallas's key card from years ago never returned. What if we get caught? Cynthia asked, sipping her wine. We won't. And if we do, I'm his wife. I have a right to his financial records. Legally, though, I don't care. I need to know what he's hiding. At 10, we drove to his building. The parking garage was nearly empty, just a few late workers' cars. We took the elevator to the third floor, and I swiped Dallas's key card to enter Griffin Financial Services. The office was dark and still. My heart raced as I led Cynthia to his private office. His computer was locked, but I knew his passwords. Minutes later, I was in, scrolling through files. What I found was worse than I feared. Dallas wasn't just cheating. He was stealing from clients to fund Victoria's boutique. Spreadsheets and bank transfers showed it all. He'd skimmed small amounts from multiple accounts for 6 months, funneling money through shell companies to her shop. God! Cynthia whispered over my shoulder. How much? I calculated quickly. At least $200,000, maybe more. Sofia, this isn't just an affair. This is a felony. He could go to jail. I printed the worst documents, hands shaking with fury. Dallas hadn't just betrayed me. He'd robbed clients who trusted him with their savings. Look, I said, pointing to an account. Megan Miller, 78. He's been her advisor for 3 years. She trusts him completely. Cynthia read the screen. 15 grand from her, taken over 4 months. Small enough she might not notice. I scrolled on. The Grants lost 12 grand. Valesky's 8. He's been stealing from people who think he's family. Dallas's crimes hit me hard, fueling a cold, sharp anger. This wasn't just about us anymore. It was about justice for everyone he'd hurt. Copy everything, I said, plugging in a flash drive. Every file, spreadsheet, email. What's your plan? To make him pay for it all. We spent 2 hours digging. The deeper we went, the uglier it got. He'd been stealing for nearly a year, not 6 months, totaling closer to $400,000. Some victims couldn't afford the losses. Then I found a draft email to Victoria, dated 3 days ago, never sent. V, I can't keep this up. Sofia's suspicious, and there's an audit next month. We need to move faster. Divorce papers are ready, and I've shifted our joint assets to the offshore account. We can be in Costa Rica by month's end if it all works out. I love you. My blood ran cold. Dallas wasn't just leaving me. He was stealing our money and planning to flee with Victoria. Cynthia, look at this. Cynthia read the email over my shoulder, her face paling. Sofia, call the police now. Not yet. I need more proof, and I want to ensure Victoria doesn't slip away before I expose them both. This is risky. What if they figure it out and leave early? I was already planning ahead. They won't. Dallas still sees me as the trusting wife. He doesn't suspect I know anything. I copied the draft email and others revealing their escape plans. They used a secret email account, plotting every step. Victoria wasn't just a scheming gold digger. She was Dallas's criminal partner, fully aware of the embezzlement and helping him hide it. We left his office with enough evidence to ruin them, but I held off on the police. I wanted my own justice first. What's next? Cynthia asked as we drove home. I'll give them what they want. What does that mean? I glanced at her, and she flinched at my expression. I'm going to help them disappear. Dallas came back Sunday evening, wearing a guilty smile and offering a fancy perfume, probably picked out by Victoria. How was the conference? I asked, forcing myself to accept his kiss. Dull, tax talks and investment strategies, but I picked up some tips for our clients. Our clients, the ones he'd been stealing from for months. I missed you, he said, hugging me. The hotel was nice, but it's nothing like being with you. I missed you too. Lying was getting easier. I was matching his deception. Over the next few days, I started my plan. First, I secured my own money. Using my maiden name, I opened a new bank account with my birth certificate and an old bill. I moved a small sum from our joint savings. Too little for Dallas to notice, but enough to keep me safe if things went south. Next, I dug deeper into Victoria's other relationships. Tuesday, I followed her to another lunch with Richard Hawthorne, this time with Cynthia's telephoto lens camera. I got clear shots of them kissing, holding hands, acting like lovesick kids. The best photos came when they went to a hotel after lunch. I waited in the lobby, pretending to read, until they left 2 hours later. Richard handed her an envelope. From my car, I saw it was stuffed with cash. He wasn't just cheating with her, he was paying her. That night, with Dallas working late, I researched Victoria's past. I had focused on her present, but her history was a goldmine. Victoria Blake was really Victoria Chin from California, with a record, 3 fraud and identity theft arrests, 1 conviction, probation instead of jail. She moved here 2 years ago, changed her name, and started the boutique after other shady businesses failed. She was a pro-con artist, and Dallas was her latest victim. Here's where my plan got spicy. Victoria thought she was playing Dallas and Richard, keeping them apart while fleecing them. She didn't know I was on to her. I was about to make them meet. Wednesday evening, I called Richard's office. Hawthorne Automotive, Megan speaking. How can I help? I'm calling about Mr. Hawthorne's appointment with Blake's boutique tomorrow. We need to reschedule. I don't see any appointment with Blake's. Perfect. Victoria was hiding their meetings from his secretary, keeping their affair hush-hush. My mistake, it's probably personal. Can I get his direct number? I can't share that, but I can take a message. No worries, I'll sort it out. Thanks. I hung up and called Dallas's office. Griffin Financial Services, Melissa here. Hi, Melissa, it's Sofia. Is Dallas free? He's with a client, honey. Want him to call you. Actually, I need help. I'm planning a surprise birthday party for Dallas next month and want to invite his new clients. Didn't you mention a boutique owner? Oh, Victoria Blake? That's sweet. She's lovely and would love to meet you. I'll grab her contact info. Melissa gave me Victoria's number and email, which I already had. More importantly, she confirmed Victoria's regular visits to Dallas's office. My revenge was coming together. Thursday afternoon, I made 2 calls to set it all in motion. First, to Richard's personal cell, which I got by posing as a customer with a warranty issue. This is Richard. Mr. Hawthorne, I'm Sofia Griffin, Dallas Griffin's wife. A long pause. I don't know that name. Odd, since you're both sleeping with Victoria Blake. Silence stretched. Wrong number. Victoria Blake, aka Victoria Chin. Auburn hair, green eyes, red Camry. Owns Blake's boutique, which you're funding. What do you want? His voice turned icy, but I stayed calm. Meet me tomorrow, 2 o'clock, Elm Street Coffee Shop. Alone. Why should I? I have photos of your hotel visits with Victoria. Very clear photos. I'll call your wife if you don't show. He hung up without a word, but I knew he'd come. Then I called Dallas. Sofia, everything okay? I'm okay, but we need to talk about something serious. Can you come home early? You sound upset. What's wrong? I'll tell you when you get here. It's about us, Dallas. Our future. His voice trembled with worry, promising to leave work right away. 20 minutes later, Dallas walked in, his face tense. Sofia, what's going on? You're freaking me out. I sat in the living room, positioned in the chair by the door, the afternoon light shadowing my face. I know, Dallas. Know what? I know about Victoria Blake, the money you stole from clients, your plan to flee the country. His face went white like he might collapse. Sofia, I can explain. No, you can't. Nothing makes this okay. He slumped onto the couch, hands shaking. How long have you known? Since I got home from the hospital. I saw you with her in our bed. He buried his face in his hands. God, Sofia, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean for this to happen. Which part? The affair or the theft? His head jerked up. You know about the clients. Everything. The offshore accounts, the fake IDs, the house in Costa Rica. He stared at me like I was a stranger. What are you going to do? That's up to you. What do you mean? I leaned forward, voice steady. You have a choice, Dallas. Do the right thing. Turn yourself in, confess, repay the money, face the consequences. Or what? Or stick to your plan. Run to Costa Rica with Victoria and hope I don't find you. He looked at me like I'd gone crazy. You're not serious. I am. But know this. Victoria Blake isn't who you think. I pushed a manila envelope across the table. Her real name's Victoria Chin, a convicted felon. She's also taking cash from Richard Hawthorne, married, rich, obsessed with her. Dallas fumbled with the envelope, pulling out Victoria's criminal record, photos with Richard and bank statements showing multiple deposits. She's playing you, Dallas, like she's playing Richard and probably countless others. You're not special. You're just another target. He stared at the photos, emotions flickering across his face. This can't be true. She loves me. We're starting a life together. That life is built on stolen money. And she'll ditch you the second she finds a better mark. You're lying. Am I? Call her now. Say you want to leave for Costa Rica this weekend. See how she reacts. His hands shook as he dialed Victoria, putting her on speaker. Dallas, you okay? You sound off. I need to see you tonight. It's urgent. Sorry, baby, I've got a business dinner with an investor. Tomorrow then? Victoria, let's move up our plan. Leave for Costa Rica this weekend. A long pause. Dallas, we can't rush this. Timing has to be perfect, or we'll screw it up. But I love you. Don't you want our new life? Of course, but we need to be smart. I'll call tomorrow, okay? She hung up before he could answer. He stared at the phone, then at me, then at the photos. She's with him now, isn't she? Probably. Thursday's her usual night with Richard. Dallas went quiet, processing. When he looked up, his eyes were red, defeated. What do you want, Sofia? Choose prison or Costa Rica. Either way, our marriage is done. If you pick Costa Rica, hope Victoria doesn't choose Richard over you. She'll leave you stranded with nothing. Tears fell and he didn't wipe them. How did it all go so wrong? You made bad choices, Dallas. Now you face the consequences. I stood and headed for the door. Decide by morning. Pack what you want, but don't touch our accounts. I've already moved the money. Where are you going? To Cynthia's. When I return, you'd better be gone. If you choose prison, leave your lawyer's name. If Costa Rica, leave nothing. Sofia, wait. I turned back. I loved you, Dallas. Truly. But that man was never real, was he? He didn't answer. I didn't wait. I drove to Cynthia's hotel, reviewing my plan one last time. Every step had to be perfect, or it would all collapse. At 2:00 the next day, I walked into the Elm Street coffee shop. Richard Hawthorne sat at a corner table, looking uneasy. Older than I'd thought, late 50s, gray hair, expensive clothes hiding a soft middle. Mr. Hawthorne, I said. He looked up, curious but irritated. Mrs. Griffin, I presume. Thanks for coming. I sat across from Richard, taking in his polished look, handsome, self-assured, the kind of man used to winning. Let's make this quick, he said. What do you want? I've got something to show you. I slid my tablet across the table and played a video from last night, Dallas's call with Victoria, where she brushed off his plea to leave sooner. Richard's face froze as he listened. Where'd you get this? I recorded it while she was dining with you. That's impossible. Victoria doesn't know your husband. I spread out copies of bank records from Dallas's office. Your girlfriend's been taking my husband's money for over a year. He's been stealing from clients to fund her boutique and lifestyle. Richard's expression darkened as he scanned the documents. How much? Close to $500,000. That's just what I found. Damn it. It's worse. They're planning to flee to Costa Rika together. His head snapped up. When? Next month. But Dallas pushed to leave sooner yesterday. Victoria said she was too busy with an investor. That was you. I know. Richard fell silent, digesting the betrayal. What do you want from me? How much have you given her? He hesitated, weighing a lie. About 80, maybe 90,000. Over 6 months. I calculated quickly. Victoria had scammed nearly $600,000 from them both in a year. She's slick, I said. Clearly. So, what's our move? Richard leaned back. What's your plan? I think Victoria needs to feel betrayal herself. I'm all ears. I showed him Dallas's draft email about their escape. Dallas thinks they're running off together. Victoria thinks she's playing you both while planning her getaway. What if neither happens? Meaning, what if her 2 cash flows dried up at once? What if she panicked and slipped up, exposing herself to people less forgiving than us? His eyes narrowed. Who? The kind who hate being robbed. I laid out my plan, and Richard's face lit up with a grin. You're sharper than I thought, Mrs. Griffin. Call me Sofia. You haven't seen the half of it. We spent an hour hashing out details. Richard would call Victoria, saying he's leaving his wife and wants her to run away with him now, offering double the money if she leaves this weekend. Meanwhile, I'd ensure Dallas learned about Victoria and Richard. Not through me, but an anonymous tip leading him to catch them together. The goal: force Victoria to face 2 furious, betrayed men who know her lies. That was just the start. What about the money she's taken? Richard asked. That's where it gets fun. I shared the next part of my plan, and his grin widened. This'll work. It will. Are you in? He nodded after a moment. She cost me 90 grand and made me look like a fool. She's going to pay. She will. Believe me. That evening, I came home to an empty driveway. The house was silent, and I wondered if Dallas chose Costa Rica. Then I found a note on the kitchen table. Sofia, I chose prison. I confessed to the police and called my lawyer, John Morrison, at Morrison and Associates. I'm sorry for hurting you and my clients. You deserved better. Dallas. I read it 3 times. A tiny part of me respected his choice to confess, but my anger at his betrayal drowned it out. That night, the news broke. Local financial advisor arrested for embezzlement. Dallas's mugshot filled the screen, the reporter detailing his $500,000 theft. My phone blew up, neighbors, friends, reporters wanting the betrayed wife's story. I turned it off and poured wine. Phase 1 was done. Dallas was gone, and Victoria's main cash source was cut off. But I wasn't finished with her. Saturday morning, I called her boutique. Blake's, this is Victoria. How can I help? Victoria, it's Sofia Griffin, Dallas's wife. Silence hung for nearly 30 seconds. I don't know what you mean. I know about the affair, Victoria. The money. Your plan to flee with Dallas. Mrs. Griffin, there's a misunderstanding. No, you misunderstood. You thought you could steal from my husband and his clients and walk away. You thought you could wreck my marriage and vanish. Dallas must have told you something, but Dallas didn't tell me. I found out myself. Now he's in jail, and your main income is gone. She went quiet. So long I thought she'd hung up. What do you want? She finally said. Meet me today, 2 o'clock, at your boutique. That's not a good idea. You don't have a choice, Victoria. If you don't meet me, my next call is to Richard Hawthorne's wife. Silence stretched on the line. How do you know about Richard? She whispered. I know everything, Victoria. Or should I say Victoria Chin? Her gasp was faint, almost a sob. 2 o'clock, I said firmly. Don't keep me waiting. I hung up before she could reply. At exactly 2, I stepped into Blake's boutique. Victoria stood behind the counter, looking like a wreck. Her makeup was streaked, her hair a mess, her hands trembling. "Close the store," I told her. "What?" "Flip the sign to closed and lock the door. We need to talk privately." She obeyed, moving like a robot, unsure and stiff. When she faced me, her eyes were red from crying. "Sit," I said, pointing to the chairs by the fitting rooms. Victoria sat on the edge of a chair, ready to bolt. "Let's get to it," I said. "How long have you been sleeping with my husband?" "Mrs. Griffin, I don't think." "Answer me." 8 months." "And how long has he been giving you money?" "I never asked for it. Dallas offered to help my business." "How long, Victoria?" 6 months." "And Richard Hawthorne? How long with him?" Her face crumpled. "How do you know about Richard?" "I know it all. Your real name, your criminal record, how you've played 2 men while draining their wallets." "It's not like that." "It's exactly like that. You're a con artist, Victoria. You target rich men, make them love you, then bleed them dry. This time, one of your marks was stealing from innocent people to fund your scams." Tears streamed down her face, mascara leaving black trails. "I didn't know Dallas was embezzling. I swear." "But you'd have taken the money anyway." She stayed silent, which said enough. "Here's the deal," I said. "You'll pay back every cent you took from Dallas and Richard. Every single penny. I don't have that kind of cash. The boutique's barely surviving. Then find a way, because if you don't, I'll make sure everyone knows who Victoria Chin really is." I slid a thick envelope across the table. "This has your criminal record, bank statements showing their money, photos of you with both men, and recordings proving you knew about Dallas's crimes." She stared at the envelope like it might bite her. "I've got Richard's wife's number, Dallas's clients, the state attorney general, and journalists who'd love this story." "What do you want from me?" "Disappear. Close the boutique, repay the money, and leave town. If I ever see you again, or if you contact Dallas, Richard, or anyone here, I'll ruin you. I can't just vanish. I have a lease, employees, customers. You should have thought of that before you became a crook." I walked to the door, then glanced back. "You've got 72 hours, Victoria. After that, I'm done playing nice." "Wait," she called, voice cracking. "Even if I wanted to pay it back, I don't have the money. The boutique's got bills, and Richard's wife is watching his accounts. That's your problem." I left her in her crumbling boutique, surrounded by clothes she couldn't afford and dreams built on stolen cash. But my plan wasn't done yet. Sunday night, my phone rang. It was Victoria, sounding frantic. "Sofia, please. I need more time. 72 hours isn't enough to sell everything. You've had months to scheme with Dallas. You'll figure it out." "I'll lose it all. The boutique, my apartment, my car." "You mean the stuff you bought with stolen money? How sad." "Please, there's got to be another way. Maybe a payment plan." "The only plan I care about is you vanishing for good." I hung up and powered off my phone. I wasn't giving her more time or bargaining. I wanted her panicking because, while she was losing it, I was setting up the final piece of my revenge. Monday morning, I pulled up to Richard Hawthorne's main dealership. The showroom sparkled, rows of shiny cars, eager salespeople in suits. I asked for Richard and was soon led to his second-floor office. "Sofia," he said, standing from behind his huge desk. "How'd it go with Victoria?" "As planned. She's scared and desperate, ready to make some bad moves." "What kind of moves?" I sat across from him and pulled out my phone, the kind that'll give us all the leverage we need. I showed him Victoria's texts from the last 24 hours. Defiant, then begging, then angry, then desperate, spiraling as she realized she was trapped. "She's going to run," Richard said, scanning the messages. "Exactly. But she needs money to run, and that means taking bigger risks." "What risks?" "The kind involving other people's credit cards, bank accounts, or jewelry. Victoria Chin's a convicted felon, Richard. When she's cornered, she'll fall back on what she knows. He leaned back, a slow grin spreading. And when she does, we'll be ready to catch her. I shared the final part of my plan with Richard, and he burst out laughing. You're relentless, he said, grinning with respect. I call it thorough. That afternoon, I called Detective Lisa Rodriguez, a sharp financial crimes expert I'd researched. Detective, I'm Sofia Griffin. My husband was the advisor arrested for embezzlement last week. I know the case. How can I help, Mrs. Griffin? I have info on someone tied to his crimes, likely planning more soon. Go on. I gave her Victoria's real name, Victoria Chin, and her criminal past, plus edited evidence I'd collected. I kept Richard Hawthorne out of it, focusing on Victoria's role with Dallas. We'll investigate, Rodriguez said. Thanks for the tip. One more thing. Victoria Chin might try to flee soon. If you're going to question her, do it fast. We'll consider that. Tuesday morning, I drove by Blake's Boutique. A store closing sale sign hung in the window. Victoria was panicking, just as I'd predicted. I parked across the street, watching her frantically mark down prices and pack up. She looked worn out, like her options had run dry. At noon, Richard's Mercedes rolled up. He walked in, and Victoria's face lit with desperate hope. They talked for 20 minutes, Richard calm, Victoria pleading. When he left, she slumped against the counter, defeated. Phase 3 was rolling. That evening, my phone rang. Sofia, it's Victoria. We need to talk. I was clear Sunday. You've got 1 day left. I met Richard today. He said you're working together. I stayed silent. He told me about your investigation, the photos, your plan to ruin me. I want to make a deal. No deals, Victoria. What if I told you about more money? Money Dallas and Richard don't know about. That caught me. What money? I've got $200,000 from other small cons, stashed for emergencies. Where? Safety deposit boxes, offshore accounts, cash in my apartment. I saved it for moments like this. You'd give it to Dallas's victims? I'll give it to you if you stop your investigation and let me vanish quietly. I paused. $200,000 could help Dallas's clients, and Victoria would leave broke. But it wasn't enough for her crimes. No deal, I said. Sofia, please be fair. I am fair. You wrecked my marriage, helped Dallas steal from innocent people, and ran cons hurting others. $200,000 doesn't fix that. Then what do you want? You to pay for your crimes. All of them. What's that mean? Get a good lawyer, Victoria. You'll need one. I hung up and called Rodriguez. Detective Sofia Griffin. Update on Victoria Chin. What's new? She admitted to running multiple scams and hiding money. Talk to her before she skips town. We're visiting her tomorrow. Thanks for the tip. She mentioned emergency funds. Any details? Check her apartment and safety deposit boxes. She's got cash stashed. We'll do that. Wednesday morning, I sat across from Victoria's apartment with coffee and a newspaper. At 9, 3 unmarked police cars pulled up. Detective Rodriguez and officers went inside. 20 minutes later, they led Victoria out in handcuffs. She looked small, broken by reality. As they put her in the car, her eyes met mine across the street. I raised my coffee cup in a mock toast. Her face, shocked, betrayed. Realizing she'd been outsmarted was everything I'd wanted. The police drove off, and I lingered, savoring the victory. Victoria would face justice, penniless, friendless, with no way to charm her way out. But I had one last task. That afternoon, I met Richard at the Elm Street coffee shop again. Saw the news about Victoria's arrest, he said, sitting down. Fraud, identity theft, money laundering. They're hitting her hard. She deserves it. What about her emergency fund? Police found $230,000 in accounts and safety deposit boxes. It'll go to her victims. He nodded. And Dallas's clients? They'll recover most of their money from Victoria's stash and Dallas's plea deal assets. Not everything, but enough. What do we get out of this? I studied him. He'd helped, and Victoria had wronged him, but he was still a cheating husband using family money. You get to return to your wife without her knowing about Victoria. That's worth $90,000, right? Richard's smile wavered. And if I don't agree? You'd be foolish. Mrs. Hawthorne deserves better than a husband cheating with a felon. He paused, then laughed, shaking his head. You're something else, Sofia Griffin. I like to think I'm thorough. We parted, and I never saw Richard again. A year later, I read he and his wife renewed their vows in Hawaii. Maybe he learned his lesson, or maybe he got sneakier. I didn't care. My business with him was done. 6 months after Victoria's arrest, I sat in my lawyer's office, wrapping up my divorce from Dallas. He was serving 7 years for embezzlement, sending me letters I returned unopened. The house sale closes next week, my lawyer said, passing papers over. After fees and restitution, you'll clear about $200,000. Good. Half goes to a trust for Dallas's victims who weren't fully repaid. The other half's for my Fresh Start Fund. Fresh Start Fund? I smiled. I'm moving to Seattle. New city, new job, new life. I've earned a clean slate. He nodded, jotting notes. What about Dallas's letters? He's persistent. Send them back. I'm done with Dallas Griffin. 3 weeks later, I stood in my Seattle apartment, gazing at the skyline, mountains, shimmering water, endless possibilities. My phone buzzed with Cynthia's text. Victoria got 12 years. Relieved. I was. Victoria Chin faced multiple charges: fraud, identity theft, money laundering. The judge was tough, citing her past convictions and many victims. But more than relief, I felt victorious. I'd made sure everyone who hurt me paid, and I'd done better than I ever imagined. Dallas was in prison, his career and reputation ruined. Victoria was locked away, her con days over. Richard faced no legal fallout, but lived with the fear of almost losing it all. They got what they deserved. Unpacking, I found a wedding photo of Dallas and me, young and beaming. For a moment, I mourned the trusting woman I was, blindsided by betrayal. That woman was gone, replaced by someone tougher, sharper, ready to take justice into her own hands. I stared at the photo, then tossed it in the trash. The past was over. My future was waiting. That evening, I sipped wine on my balcony, watching the sunset over Elliott Bay. My phone rang, not Cynthia or a new coworker, but an unknown number. Hello. Sofia Griffin. Who's this? Detective Sarah Kim, Seattle Police. I've got a case you might find interesting. What kind? Financial fraud. A woman targeting married men, earning their trust, then stealing. Her methods are clever. My interest sparked. Why me? You cracked a similar case back home. We could use your skills. I'd planned a quiet Seattle life, maybe a nonprofit job, something calm. But Kim was right. I had skills, forged by necessity, sharpened by practice, perfect for delivering justice. Tell me about the case, I said. As Kim explained, I took notes, asking questions. The suspect felt too familiar. What's her name? I asked. She uses aliases, but one is Victoria Blake. I nearly dropped my phone. Detective Kim, we should meet in person. I've got information you'll want. How soon can you come to the station? I glanced at the city lights, excitement surging. 20 minutes. Some people never learn. Just find new cities, new prey. But they made a mistake picking Seattle. This was my city now, and I was damn good at catching predators. Grabbing my keys, I smiled. My new life was about to get thrilling. Victoria Chin taught me something vital. Revenge isn't just settling scores. it's making the lessons stick. And some lessons need repeating. I locked my door and stepped into the Seattle night, ready for my next chapter.